Football's coming on tonight.
I would like to welcome all listeners to the first of two shows that have been dedicated to the new book released entitled The Stolen Legacy of Black College Football. Let me introduce myself. My name is LeGrand Anthony, and I will be your host. A little background about myself. I am a retired trial attorney for more than 20 years. Currently, I am dedicating my time to nonfiction writing. As an author, I have currently wrote a total of 9 books and counting. College football is not just a game played for fun on the playground, but a multi-billion-dollar business industry. In 2011, one college football team earned more than $100 million in football revenues. Out of 25 college football teams, the lowest amount of college football revenues earned was more than $25 million in 1 year. Like any multi-billion-dollar business industry in America, college football is exclusively controlled by Europeans by any means necessary.
You want to know how football became integrated in the South? Here's a greatest history lesson you'll never read in a book. 1954, Brown versus Board, it ended segregation in schools. And by 1964, the Civil Rights Act, it outlawed public racial discrimination. But Jim Crow in the South still haunted college football. The greatest college football team, Alabama, they dominated the 1960s, but they were all white. They were coached by Bear Bryant, the legendary Bear Bryant. But by the late 1960s, there was a dilemma. Alabama had lost its hold on the reins of college football. So what in the world happened? See, the all-white Alabama team was starting to become less dominant as the fully integrated programs out west, like USC, were becoming more and more dominant. Well, Alabama needed to find a way to integrate, but the officials and the governor, George Wallace, who had won his election based on playing white supremacy, he wasn't having it. Bear Bryant realized he needed Alabama and their all-white team to lose to a fully integrated team, because that would be the only way he could convince the officials to integrate that Alabama football team. Alabama needed bigger, faster, stronger players, and well, those bigger, faster, and stronger players, they were black. Bear Bryant, he flew out to California. He met with the head coach of USC and he said, hey, we will pay you all $150,000 if you come to Tuscaloosa, Alabama and play us. Bear Bryant, knowing he was probably going to lose. Well, in September of 1970, USC, they go to Alabama, and for the first time an Alabama game is played against an integrated team. That USC team beat the brakes off of them. Final score, 42-21. USC, led by a black quarterback and a black running back, Sam Bam Cunningham, who had 12 carries, 135 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Can't touch this. You better get high, boy, because you know you can't touch Stop. Hammer time. You better get high, boy, because you know you can't touch Hammer time. Can't touch this. You better get high, boy, because you know you can't touch Stop. Hammer time. Can't touch this. You better get high, boy, because you know you can't touch
In 1954, Brown versus Board of Education overturned the separate but equal policy in schools, and the 1964 Civil Rights Act ended public racial discrimination. But although the federal government mandated integration, attitudes hadn't changed, and in the South, Jim Crow continued to haunt college football. As late as 1969, the southernmost teams in the SEC were still completely white.
A lot of great players from the South were either had to play at the historically black institutions, or if they wanted to play in the major universities, they had to go out west or go up north. So a lot of talent was leaving the Southeastern Conference.
The South was starting to see some of their programs go down a little bit, but the University of Alabama maintained their dominance. They won 3 national championships in 1961, 64, and 65, and should have won in 66. So what this did was it created in the minds of Alabama football fans and fans in the SEC the idea that you didn't need to desegregate.
Not only was Alabama enjoying success with all-white football teams, but the state was governed by a man who deliberately played the race card to win his election, and who kept a close public relationship with Coach Paul Bryant.
Clearly that was George Wallace's way of advertising, see what an all-white football team can do. What we didn't know was that the relationship between Bear Bryant and George Wallace was very uneasy. That in fact Bryant had been needling and pushing and probing, trying to integrate the Alabama football team for many years.
We were conspiring as much as we could without rattling the governor's situation. And I think that speaks well of Coach Bryant. We're a state institution, and the governor is not ready for integration yet. A lot of our funds come from the state of Alabama, from the capital, and we would like to be successful, but we're going to hurt the general public, the students and the faculty.
Despite championships in the early 60s, the racial factor was beginning to hurt Alabama's stature. Bryant's team finished the 1966 season unbeaten and untied, yet placed 3rd in the polls. The nation was simply not going to reward an all-white team that had become the flagship for segregation. By the late 1960s, the Crimson Tide was turning, and after a subpar 69 season, they were no longer reminiscent of a championship team.
At 69, there were people calling for his resignation. He said game had passed him by. It was time for Coach Bryant to go.
We knew we had to get bigger, stronger, faster players. And a large majority of the bigger, stronger, faster players were black.
We did have an African American on the team, but he was a freshman and didn't dress. Wilbur Jackson. I think it was coming, and Coach Bryant was, allowing it to happen slowly.
It was finally time for Bryant to make his move, to convince people that in order to start winning again, Alabama was going to have to fully commit to integration. But to do so, he needed to set an example. The #1 team in the 60s, USC, had a fully integrated roster, including a black quarterback and a black assistant coach. One day, prior to the 1970 season, head coach John McKay asked his assistant Craig Fertig for a lift to LAX Airport for an unexpected meeting.
In walks Coach Bryant with that houndstooth hat on that's back here. And he walked in and they, "Hi, Paul. Hi, John. Paul, what's this about?" "John, how y'all like come down to Birmingham, play us in the opener?" Coach says, "What are you going to pay me?" And he says, $150,000. Coach smokes his cigar and he says, "I'll tell you what, Paul, we'll come down and play you in the opener if you'll come out the following year and play us in LA, and I'll give you $250,000. And I'm sitting there and they said, "Bring us another round there." And I sat in on history and I didn't realize it at the time.
On September 12, 1970, USC met Alabama on Legion's Field for what would become the first integrated college football game played in Alabama.
I listened to that game on radio, and of course, we all know Southern Cal had a bit of a field day in that game. Sam Cunningham just ran up and down the field.
We played 8 linebackers trying to find one that could tackle him, and we never found one that could tackle him.
Cunningham ran for 135 yards and scored 2 touchdowns on only 12 carries. The final score was 42-21. The Crimson Tide had lost the football game, but was starting to win the war on segregation.
Bryant reacted to this game by shaking John McKay's hand at halftime and thanking him for bringing his team all the way out to Birmingham to help his program, quote, help our program, end quote.
That sort of signaled the beginning for recruitment of African American players in the Southeastern Conference. And I know a lot has been written, a lot of speculation, but I don't have any question in my mind that it was all planned by Coach Bryant.
He's got a spot in Alabama like Martin Luther King does in the world. He left a legacy that will never be matched.
And would you have it, by the next year, Alabama was an integrated program. History lessons you can't necessarily read in a book.
The entertainment business industry of college football parallels the music industry, the music entertainment business industry. You would think that the music industry or the music entertainment business industry would be controlled in large part by African American businessmen, considering the large number of talented African American artists that top the charts. However, the entertainment music industry is controlled by white Europeans exclusively. At one point in time, African American businessmen controlled the black music industry and black entertainers. However, today, both black music entertainers and black college football programs are exclusively controlled by white-owned business entertainment companies. African American-owned music entertainment companies and HBCU football programs have been stripped of talented young African American talent. As a result, African American-owned music companies like Motown no longer exist. Parallel to this reality is the reality that historically black college football programs are bankrupt of black blue-chip players. In reality, historically black football teams no longer exist on a competitive basis. It appears that African American college administrators and coaches have waved the white flag of surrender and given black blue-chip football players their most valuable revenue-generating asset to predominantly white football programs without a fight. This is a cultural abnormality. The most talented opera singers from Europe never signed up with Motown when it existed, nor has there been a migration of all white blue-chip football players to HBCU programs. This propensity for economic self-denial and economic self-destruction is only seen within the African American community. Something is not functioning properly in the minds of African Americans and those who proclaim to be leaders of African Americans. At one point in time, African Americans had 100% ownership of Motown Records, who had exclusive control of Michael Jackson and all black music entertainers. After 1964, these black music entertainers were slowly siphoned off by predominantly white-owned record companies. Today, all black entertainers are owned and controlled by white European entertainment companies. In like manner, after 1964, black blue-chip football players were aggressively recruited away from historically black college football programs by predominantly white football programs. As a consequence, predominantly white football programs and predominantly white entertainment companies became the economic benefactors of millions of dollars generated by this young, talented black labor force. Blinded by selfishness and individual monetary greed, today's young black labor force has neither envisioned nor comprehended how their individual choices has destroyed the overall economic development of the black community.